The retirement party was everything my parents had planned. White tablecloths, catered food, extended family filling the private room at their favorite restaurant. My father stood at the head of the table, beaming as relatives congratulated him on 40 years with the same company. My mother sat beside him, radiant in her new dress, already talking about their cruise next month. I sat near the middle of the table, quiet as always. My brother Jason occupied the seat of honor beside Dad, mid-story about his latest career move. So I told my boss I needed more flexibility, he said, gesturing with his wine glass. Life's too short to be stuck in a cubicle. I'm moving back home next month to focus on what really matters. Mom reached over and squeezed his hand. We're so proud of you for prioritizing your well-being. Family takes care of family. I took another sip of my wine and said nothing. That's when my accountant Rebecca arrived. I'd invited her weeks ago, back when I thought this dinner might go differently. She'd handled my finances for 6 years, ever since I started my consulting firm. She knew things about my financial life that no one else at this table did. Sorry I'm late, Rebecca said, sliding into the empty seat across from me. Traffic was terrible. She smiled warmly at my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Chin, congratulations on your retirement. You must be so excited. My father nodded enthusiastically. Couldn't have done it without our kids' support. Both of them have always been there for us. Rebecca's eyebrows raised slightly, but she stayed quiet. She knew better. The server brought her a glass of wine. She took a sip, then looked directly at me. So, Emma, how are you feeling after Monday? That must have been a weight off your shoulders. I set down my wine glass carefully. It was the right decision. Monday? My mother asked, her voice bright with curiosity. What happened Monday? Rebecca glanced at me, then back to my mother. Oh, I assumed you knew. Emma made some significant changes to her financial arrangements. The table had gone quiet. Jason stopped mid-sentence about his new meditation practice. What changes? My father asked. Rebecca looked genuinely surprised. The account freeze. Emma, you didn't tell them? I met her eyes calmly. It didn't seem relevant. What account freeze? My mother's voice had sharpened. Rebecca set down her wine glass, clearly realizing she'd walked into something. But she was a professional and she dealt in facts. The joint accounts. Emma froze all of them on Monday at 9:47 a.m. It was a smart move, honestly. She'd been the sole funding source for 6 years, and the documentation was very clear about ownership. My brother's face had gone pale. What are you talking about? The accounts, Rebecca said, pulling out her phone. She always kept records. Let me see. Monthly transfers totaling $2,450 to the mortgage account. Another $800 for the car payments. $650 for insurance. Various credit cards averaging $1,200 monthly. Plus the investment account contributions of $500 monthly. Over 6 years, Emma's funded approximately $147,000 in family expenses. The silence at the table was absolute. My father's voice came out strangled. Emma, what is she talking about? I took another sip of wine. Exactly what she said. I've been paying your mortgage, car payments, insurance and credit cards since 2019. The accounts were in my name. You just had access. That's not possible, my mother said. We pay our own bills. Rebecca scrolled through her phone. I have the bank statements right here if you'd like to see them. Emma highlighted them in yellow before the freeze. Every transfer is documented. The mortgage account shows transfers from Emma's business account on the 1st of every month. The car payment account shows transfers on the 15th. The pattern is consistent for 72 months. Why would you do that? Jason demanded. I looked at him calmly. You asked me to. In 2019, when you quit your job to find yourself and moved back home. You said Mom and Dad couldn't afford to support you and pay all their bills too. You asked if I could help for a few months. I said yes. The memory hung in the air. Jason's face had gone from pale to red. That was 6 years ago, my mother whispered. Yes, I said. It was supposed to be temporary. Then Jason got his job back after 8 months, but no one mentioned stopping the arrangement. Then Dad got his promotion in 2021, but no one mentioned stopping the arrangement. Then Jason moved out in 2022, but no one mentioned stopping the arrangement. So I kept paying. Why didn't you say something? My father asked. I did, I said quietly. 3 times. Once in 2020, once in 2022, and once last year. Each time I was told that family helps family, and that I made good money from my business, and that it wasn't a burden for me. Rebecca nodded. The notes in Emma's file confirmed this. She documented each conversation. My mother's hands were shaking. But we paid the mortgage. I see the payments go through every month. You see my payments go through, I corrected. The account is in my name. You have access to see the balance and transactions, but you've never actually funded it. Neither has Dad. The credit cards, my father said suddenly. We pay those. Rebecca shook her head. Emma pays the full balance monthly from her business account. You charge to them, but she pays them. The statements are all addressed to her business address, not your home. Jason found his voice. So Monday. What happened Monday? At 9:47 a.m. I called the bank and froze all accounts, I said. I removed everyone's access except my own. The accounts are still in my name, still technically active, but no one else can use them or view them. Why? My mother's voice broke. Because Sunday night Jason called me, I said, looking at my brother. He told me he was quitting his job again and moving home. He said I'd need to increase the monthly transfers to cover his expenses too. He said it was only fair since I didn't have a family of my own to support. Jason's face had gone purple. I didn't mean it like that. You said, and I quote, you're single with no kids. You have more money than you need. Family helps family, and right now family needs help. Rebecca winced. I said I'd think about it, I continued. Then Monday morning Mom called. She told me you and Dad were planning to retire 6 months early. She said you'd need additional support during the transition. She asked if I could increase the transfers by another $1,000 monthly. My mother's eyes filled with tears. We were going to pay you back. With what? I asked, my voice still calm. Dad's retiring. Jason's quitting his job. Neither of you has mentioned the $147,000 already spent. When exactly was the payback going to happen? The server arrived with appetizers. No one touched them. Rebecca cleared her throat. For what it's worth, Emma handled this correctly. The accounts were always legally hers. She could have frozen them at any time. She gave 6 years of support with clear documentation. And she made sure no bills would bounce by timing the freeze between payment cycles. What does that mean? My father asked. It means Emma froze the accounts after all monthly bills had cleared for March, but before April's bills would hit. It gave everyone maximum time to make alternative arrangements. The first bounced payment won't happen until April 15th, which is the car payment. That's 3 weeks away. 3 weeks, my mother said. How are we supposed to arrange everything in 3 weeks? I finished my wine. The same way most people do. You look at your income and your expenses and you make a budget. Dad's retirement package is substantial. Jason has severance from his last position. You'll need to adjust your lifestyle, but it's manageable. Our lifestyle. Jason's voice was sharp. You're talking about our lives like it's a spreadsheet. Because it is, Rebecca said quietly. Emma treated it like a business arrangement because that's what it was. He funded your lifestyle. Now she's stopped. My father put his head in his hands. Everyone's going to ask questions. The retirement party, the cruise, the new car we just leased. The car you leased in January? Rebecca asked. That's going to be a problem. The payment comes out of the account Emma froze. You'll need to refinance in your own name or return it. My mother gasped. Return it? It's brand new. Then refinance it, I said. You have 3 weeks before the first payment bounces. What about the mortgage? My father asked. Same timeline. Due on the 1st of April. That's less than 3 weeks. You'll need to make arrangements with the bank. Jason leaned forward. You're really going to do this? Right now? At Dad's retirement party? I didn't do this, I said calmly. Rebecca mentioned it. But yes, it's done. The accounts are frozen. I'm not unfreezing them. Why not? My mother pleaded. Because I was never supposed to be a retirement plan, I said. I was helping temporarily. 6 years isn't temporary. And being asked to increase my support while being told I have more money than I need isn't asking for help. It's taking advantage. Rebecca nodded. The bank manager agreed actually. When Emma explained the situation, he pulled the account history. He said he'd seen this pattern before in elder financial abuse cases, but in this situation, it was a younger family member being exploited. He commended Emma for setting boundaries. Exploited? My father's voice rose. We're her parents. Which makes it worse, Rebecca said gently. Not better. The table fell silent again. Extended family members at the far end were starting to notice something was wrong. Aunt Susan kept glancing over, concerned. My mother wiped her eyes. What happens now? How you make a plan, I said. You call the bank tomorrow and discuss mortgage options. You look at the car lease and decide if you want to keep it. You review your credit cards and start paying them yourselves. You build a budget based on Dad's retirement income and Jason's savings. And if we can't afford everything? Jason asked. Then you prioritize. You keep the house or you downsize. You keep the new car or you buy something used. You adjust like millions of people do every day. Rebecca checked her phone. For what it's worth, it's definitely possible. I ran the numbers last week. Your father's pension and Social Security combined cover the mortgage and basic expenses. There won't be much left over for extras, but it's sustainable. What about the cruise? My mother asked weakly. That's in 3 weeks, I said. You already paid for it last year. You can still go. We paid for it, my father looked confused. I paid for it, I corrected. It was your anniversary gift. It's already paid in full. That doesn't change. Some of the tension left my mother's shoulders. So we can still go? Yes. I'm not vindictive. I'm just done funding a lifestyle I was never told I was funding. Rebecca finished her wine. Emma's been very generous actually. She could have frozen everything immediately and let bills bounce. She didn't. She gave you transition time. And she's not asking for repayment of the $147,000. My father's head snapped up. You're not. No, I said. I'm writing it off as a gift. A very expensive, very long gift that I gave without realizing it had become permanent. But I'm not pursuing repayment. Jason slumped in his chair. I didn't know. I really didn't know you were paying for everything. Yes, you did, I said quietly. You knew that first time in 2019 when you asked. You just stopped thinking about it after. And when I called Sunday, he asked. You proved you still weren't thinking about it. You were thinking about yourself. Rebecca stood. I should go. Emma, call me if you need anything. He nodded to my parents. Mr. and Mrs. Chin, congratulations again on your retirement. I hope everything works out. She left. The dinner continued awkwardly. Appetizers were eaten in near silence. My father couldn't meet my eyes. My mother kept dabbing at her face with her napkin. Jason stared at his plate. Finally, Aunt Susan approached from the other end of the table. Is everything okay? You all look upset. My mother forced a smile. Just emotional about the retirement. Big life change. Aunt Susan patted her shoulder and returned to her seat. The main course arrived. I ate quietly, answering polite questions from relatives who didn't know what had happened. Yes, business was good. Yes, I was still enjoying consulting work. No, I wasn't seeing anyone. The same questions, the same answers. By dessert, Jason had regained some composure. What about holidays? He asked quietly. What about them? I responded. Are you still coming? Or is this it? I considered the question. I'll still come. This isn't about cutting contact. It's about setting financial boundaries. It feels like punishment, my mother said softly. It's not. It's just the natural consequence of taking without asking. I helped when asked. Then I kept helping when the asking stopped. Now I'm stopping too. We would have figured something out if we'd known, my father said. He did know. He chose not to think about it. There's a difference. The party wound down. Relatives said their goodbyes. My parents accepted congratulations and well wishes, their smiles strained. Jason left without saying goodbye to me. As I gathered my coat, my mother approached. Emma. I really didn't know it had been 6 years. I thought maybe you helped occasionally, but not everything. The statements came to my office every month. For 72 months. At some point, that's a choice to not know. What do we do now? You call the bank tomorrow. You talk to Dad's HR about retirement payment timelines. You build a budget. You live within your means. And us. Our relationship. I looked at her. That's up to you. I'm still your daughter. I'm just not your retirement account. She nodded slowly, tears forming again. I'm sorry. I really am. I know, I said. But sorry doesn't undo 6 years. It just acknowledges them. I left the restaurant and drove home. My phone stayed silent that night. No calls, no texts. The family group chat that usually buzzed with activity after gatherings stayed empty. 3 days later my father called. The bank manager said we can refinance the mortgage in our name. The payment will be higher but we can afford it if we're careful. That's good, I said. Jason found a part-time job. He's going to stay with us but contribute to expenses. Also good. Your mother wants to talk. She's scared you hate us. I don't hate you. I'm just done being used. Fair enough, he said quietly. That's fair. 2 weeks later my mother called. We returned the car. Leased something smaller. The payments are manageable now. Okay. The cruise is next week. We're still going. You've been planning it for a year. Emma, she paused. Thank you. For the transition time. For not making the bills bounce immediately. Rebecca was right. You could have handled this much worse. I didn't want to hurt you. I just wanted to stop being hurt. Were we hurting you? She asked, her voice small. Every time I increased the transfers, yes. Every time I was told I had money to spare, yes. Every time I was told family helps family while helping only went one direction, yes. She was quiet for a long moment. I understand. I don't like it, but I understand. A month after the retirement party, I met Rebecca for coffee. She smiled when she saw me. How are you doing? Good, I said. Really good, actually. No guilt. None. My savings account is growing for the first time in 6 years. My business is expanding. I'm sleeping better. And your family? Adjusting. They're managing. The mortgage is refinanced. Jason's working. Mom and Dad went on their cruise. They're learning to budget. And you? I'm learning that helping and enabling are different things. I'm learning that boundary setting isn't cruel. I'm learning that I deserve to keep the money I earn. Rebecca raised her coffee cup. To boundaries. I clinked my cup against hers. To boundaries. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. A photo of her and my father on the cruise ship, smiling in the sunset. The caption read, "Thank you for this gift. We'll never forget your generosity." I stared at the message. 6 years of payments, $147,000 of support, and what they'd remember was the one thing I'd actually intended as a gift. I didn't respond. I just turned off my phone, finished my coffee and went back to work. The silence, I'd learned, was its own kind of peace.